Hi students, I am Dr. M. Ashraf Majroo, Professor of Community Medicine. I welcome you in the learning session of Descriptive Summaries of Qualitative Data. This is fifth session on Medical and Biostatistics. The agenda of this session include recap of statistical summaries, prerequisites of qualitative analysis, generation of class or group data, descriptive summaries of numeric group variables, numeric discrete variables, qualitative nominal variables, and qualitative ordinal variables. Running SPSS analysis for generation of class data, descriptive summaries of qualitative data variables. So this is the agenda. Let's see the summaries. The statistical summaries are described as quantitative summaries and qualitative summaries. In previous two sessions, we have described the quantitative summaries in the form of central values, mean, median, mode, and dispersions of the data like mean deviation, variance, standard deviation, quartile and percentile distribution. The qualitative summaries are frequency, frequency distribution, relative frequency or probability, relative frequency distribution, percentage, cumulative frequency, cumulative percentage. So this session will be focused on the qualitative summaries, and these are these summaries, and we will focus on these summaries. The prerequisites of qualitative categorical analysis. First, we examine the nature of variables in which the data was originally generated. Then we review the objectives of analysis and the ways of dissemination of results to the targeted stakeholders. If data originally collected against numeric variables, then transform it into categorical data, class data or group data. If data originally collected in categorical variables, nominal or ordinal, then there is an option it can be rearranged if it is objectively desired so. Now we will discuss the transformation of numeric data into categorical or class data. It is usually advisable that the numeric data must always be collected against the original numeric variables, and categorical or class data are generated after the data collection is completed. The numeric data can easily be converted into class data, both manually by telemethod and through computer software options in the window. In SPSS program, numeric data can be recoded into different variables under the transform functions. So while working on the qualitative summaries of different variables, we have different situations. In first situation, summaries of data originally collected on continuous numeric variables converted into group data or class data. In second situation, summaries of data originally collected on discrete variables and converted into class data. In third situation, summaries of data originally collected on nominal variables, and then summaries of data originally collected on ordinal variables. We will take the examples of these four situations. So the first situation, data originally collected on continuous numeric variable is first converted into class data, and then we estimate frequency distribution, relative frequency of each class, cumulative frequency of each class, then percentage in each class, and cumulative percentage. So consider the data set of fasting blood sugar levels of 20 men. and here is the continuous numeric data of fasting blood sugar levels, and these are the 20 observations. So sorting numeric data into class data by tally method. Here we start. Identify the minimum and maximum value in the dataset and range to determine the span of spread of data. Decide the class intervals and the number of classes according to the span of the data. Sort the data into respective classes by tally method. So here we have the data values. Now we will use tally methods, and first we will see the minimum and maximum values. 80 is the minimum value in this data set and 126 is the maximum value. So the data ranges from 80 to 126. So while making the classes in with class interval 10, so we start class intervals from the 80 and 126 will be accommodated. So here we have the class breakage 80 to 89, 90 to 99, 100 to 109, 110 to 119 and 120 to 129, and there is equal class width in all these classes. Now we will sort the frequency by tally method. We will sort each value and we tally with the frequency. So 110, we will see 110 will go into this class, so we will count here, and 85 this will fall into this class and we will count here, and 90 will fall in this class and we will count here, and 80 will fall again in this class and we will count here, and 108 will fall in this class and we will count here, 115 will fall again in this class and we will count here, and so we continue in this method, and the maximum value will fall in this class, and by this method, and this is the tally method of data sorting. Now if we see the data sorting has been completed, and this is the data set and this is the tallied data. The data frequency, first they are counted and then they are now listed as frequency. So what is the frequency? Number of pieces of data that fall into a particular class is called frequency. So here is the frequency. In first class it is 3, in last class it is 2, and similarly in second last it is 6, and so on. Then what is frequency distribution? Listing all classes and their frequencies in tabular form is called frequency distribution. So this table is indicating the frequency distribution of the blood sugar level in class data. Now here we have the classes. Now we will explain the terminology in class or group data. So the classes are the category of grouping in the data, and these are the classes. Here we have the classes 80 to 90 and so on. And then the lower class limit, smallest value that can go into a class is the lower class limit, and here 80 is the lower class limit. And the upper class limit, largest value that can go into a class is the upper class limit, and in this class 89 is the upper class limit. Then class width, the difference between two consecutive upper or lower class limits is the class interval. If we take these two consecutive classes, the difference of 100 and 110, these are the lower class, consecutive lower class limits. It will be 10, and similarly the difference between 119 and 109, these are the consecutive upper class limits. So this is the class interval. Then class mark is the midpoint of the class. Here is the midpoint of the class, and it is statistically estimated lower class limit plus upper class limit divided by 2. And in this example, 120 plus 129 divided by 2, 124.5 is the class mark. So this is the terminology usually used in the group data or class data. Now guideline for the class data, the class width must be same. Sometimes there may be some flexibility in first or last class. Non-overlapping class limits are advisable. 10 to 20, 20 to 30 and 30 to 40. In this, the 20 is repetition in the classes and this is overlapping, while it is correctly it is 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, and these are the non-overlapping. Exhaust all the values in the data set. That means all the data values must be accommodated in the class data. Classes must be continuous. That means there must be no gap in frequency distribution. The number of classes must be adjusted according to the range of the data, neither too many nor too less. So this is the guideline for the class data. Now relative frequency and percentage. What is relative frequency? The ratio of frequency of the class to the total number of pieces of data is the relative frequency. If it is denoted by f, frequency in each class, and n is the total number of observations, then relative frequency is expressed as f over n. And if we want to estimate the percentage, then simply multiply the relative frequency with 100. We will get the percentage. So let's see the data. Here is the data frequency distribution, and if we see the first class, 3 is the frequency observed in this class and total pieces of data are 20. So the relative frequency in this class will be f over n is equal to 3 divided by 20 is equal to 0.15. So this is the relative frequency, and in the next class the frequency is 4. 4 divided by 20 is equal to 0.20, and similarly in class number 3, 5 divided by 20, and similarly 6 divided by 20, and in last class the relative frequency is 2 divided by 20 is equal to 0.1. So the total relative frequency is taken from 1 and it is the probability. Now how to interpret the probability? Actually this indicates the probability of each class in the total data set. For example, if we want to compare 100 to 109 blood sugar levels, this is the probability 0.25 as compared to the persons having blood sugar level, fasting blood sugar level 120 to 129, that is 0.1. So the probability of this class is higher as compared to this last class. So this is the significance of this relative frequency. Relative frequency is the probability of each class in the total data set. It is expressed out of 1, while percentage is expressed out of 100. So if we want to convert it into percentage, then relative frequency multiplied by 100. So here is the relative frequency multiplied by 100 is equal to 15%, 20%, 25%, 30 and 10% in the last class, and total is the 100. So this is the relative frequency and this is the percentage. Now what is the cumulative frequency and percentage? Frequency in the preceding class are accumulated in the succeeding class. It depicts the fraction of total data falling up to the given class. So if we look at the data set, here is the frequency. If we want to estimate the cumulative frequency, in first class there is no preceding class, so 3 is the ultimate, taken as ultimate cumulative frequency, and this is the starting point. Now this 3 will be cumulated into the succeeding class 4. 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. Now this is the cumulative frequency. Now this is again 7 is cumulated in 5, and 7 plus 5 is equal to 12, and 12 is cumulated in 6. 12 plus 6 is equal to 18, and 18 is cumulated into 2, and it is equal to 20. So this is how the cumulative frequency go on piling up. That means the piling up of data. So we can estimate the cumulative probability. So the cumulative probability is here 0.15, and here it is 0.35, then 0.60, and it is similarly estimated 7 divided by total number of f over n, and this is estimated with in the same way. And in the same way we can multiply it with 100 and we can get the percentage. And this is the percentage. 0.3 multiplied by 135%, and similarly so on. This is the percentage. This is the cumulative frequency. This is the cumulative probability, and this is the cumulative percentage. Now we will take the second example for descriptive summaries, that is the discrete numeric variables. In this example, a city planner is collecting data on number of school age children per family. The family were 30 family were selected at random from small town. Number of school age children are given in the data set, and this is the number of school children. 0 indicate no school age children in the family, and 1 indicate 1, and 2 indicate 2, and 3 indicate 3. And if we convert this discrete data into classes, so 0 is the class where no school age children is there, and one school family with one school age children, family with two school age children, and 3 and 4 and so on. So these are the classes, and this is the frequency. And this frequency is counted from here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is how this frequency is taken. Now we can estimate the relative frequency. Similarly, 12 divided by total number of f over n. With the same formula, we will get the relative frequency, and then we tabulate the percentage multiplied by 100. So this is the relative frequency and percentage, and this is the classes of the discrete numeric variables. Now we'll take the example of descriptive summaries of nominal data. Here is the example of nominal data. In Pakistan National Assembly election, the opinion poll was conducted in a constituency of Karachi, the capital of Sindh province, to assess the political party affiliation. The party affiliation were coded as P is equal to PPP, N is equal to PMLN, M is equal to MQM, J is equal to JUI, and for others O. So here the data is collected, and here is the frequency distribution: PPP 10, PMLN 6, JUI 4, MQM 4, and others 4. So this is the frequency distribution. Now we can estimate the relative frequency. This is f over n. F is 10, and similarly 6 divided by 30, and 4 divided by 30, and so on. This is the relative frequency. And multiplying by 100 we can get the percentage. So this is the relative frequency, and percentage. In fourth example, we summarize the ordinal data, and the example is here. In a financial happiness survey, the people were asked about feeling of financial happiness. The ordinal Likert scale was used to determine the happiness in the data collection tool as 1 very happy, 2 happy, 3 neutral, 4 unhappy, and 5 very unhappy. So this is the data recorded in coding. 1 indicates very happy, 2 indicates happy, and so on. And now we can have the frequency distribution: very happy, happy, neutral, unhappy, and this is the frequency distribution. And similarly we can get the relative frequency and percentage, and this is the percentage and this is the relative frequency. So in this way we have these descriptive summaries of qualitative data in all examples. Now we will shift on to SPSS for data analysis. So if here we have the variables and this is the data view. So first we will exercise the transformation of data, numeric data into class data. So this is our first assignment. For this purpose we will go to transform, but before, and we will recode into different variables. But before going to this, we have to determine the span of spread of data. So we will go to the analysis and we will take the descriptive summaries. First we reset the variables, and now age is our numeric variables which we have to transform into the class data. So for preliminary analysis we will go for statistics. We need only the range, the minimum value, the maximum value, and we will continue, and we don't need the frequency table. We check it out and this is here. We have the range 48, minimum value is 32, maximum value is 80. So we can make the classes be to accommodate between 30 to 80. So starting point will be the 31. So now we will go to the data transformation. So we will recode the different variables into different variables. We will reset our dialog box and we will put age into the, and we will label it as a new age group. And then we will detail label age group, and then we will give the range for the old and new values through. So 31st is our starting point and it is up to 40, and this is our first class. Add this into this box, and then we start from 41 to 50, and this is our second class. Add this into the dialog box, and then we have 51 to 60, and this is our third class. We will add it, and then we will have 61 to 70, and we will add as a fourth class, and lastly 71 to 80. This is our last class. Add, and then we continue. So then we change, then we click OK. Now we have generated the new variable. We can see this variable into the data view. So we will go to the variable view and data view. Here we have our new age group variable, and here we have newly generated age group variable. Now we will have the descriptive summary analysis for all the different types of variables, including newly generated variable. So we will go to analyze, we will go to frequencies, we will reset, and now we have age as a group data. So we will add this age as group data, and then we can add other nominal variables like grade of illness, COVID test results, and the comorbidity with COVID, and gender, all the nominal variables and the newly generated variables from the numeric data. Now we can get the statistics. The frequencies are by default, and we will get only the chart. The bar charts are good for the nominal and categorical variables. We will continue and we will go to the statistics. We have here the summary. Here is the class data summary, frequency of age groups. Here is the mild, moderate and severe. This is the frequency, this is the percentage, this is the cumulative percentage and valid percentage. So this is the detail of the tabulation which we get, and this is the bar chart of the age groups, and this is the descriptive analysis. So in the SPSS we can get very easily the descriptive analysis, and we can recode the variable into different variables as we have done in this case. Uh, Here we can see a newly generated variable in our data set, that is we can push it out. So now here it is the so this was the demonstration on numeric data transformation into class data and the descriptive analysis on qualitative variables. So thank you very much for your precious time. We will continue with the statistics on SPSS in the forthcoming sessions.